Facebook land. This is your girl, your auntie, your friend, your sister, Erica Brown. I'm here with Voice It Podcast tonight. We got a hot one. And I'm not talking about a hot girl summer because it's cold outside. I'm talking about girl talk. We are bringing back girl talk. And tonight we have a couple of ladies that we've had before. And these young ladies are Miss Brandy Robinson, as well as Miss Asha Lewis. And these young ladies, they've spoken with us before in regards to being 20. And Asha, are you able to start your video there?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
There you go. So they were on once before with us, and we talked about 40s versus 20s, and we've actually been talking offline quite often about the different aspects of being 20 and basically the things that we did and I myself did when I was 20, i.e. Gangsta E. And the different things that they deal with at 20. We're talking about a huge difference in technology. We're talking about a huge difference in the things that they experience now versus what we experienced then. Technology plays a huge part in that, huge part in that, especially social media. And however, things like pain and hurt is still the same. Still the same. We still go through the same kind of pain and hurt the same way. So I tasked these young ladies to do a few things over the past couple of weeks. And one of the first tasks that we talked about is understanding how perfectly made that you are and how God sees you and how God sees that you are perfectly made. And we actually have another young lady that's joining us right now, Miss Atasia Mills, and she goes by Tassie. She's joining us, and I'll let her get situated. And I think we have one person that just dropped off. She'll get back in shortly. But understanding how perfectly made that we are. And one of the hardest things for a lot of women to understand is that we're perfect, because we see the world shows us how imperfect that we are. And the world points out all of our imperfections. So in every plastic surgery known to man is plastered on every magazine, every TV, every whatever, showing us how imperfect that we are. So if we're constantly shown how imperfect that we are, how can we look at ourselves and see that we're perfect? Can you possibly answer some of that question, Miss Asha?
Ask it one more time so I can answer it correctly.
How can you, if the world shows us so much that we're imperfect, how can you, if God tells us that we're perfect, how can you see yourself as perfect?
I could see myself as perfect when you think of it and the aspect that humans were never really supposed to be. It's really our perception, I would say, of what perfection is to people having what people consider flaws. And this is where it gets complicated, because for some people a flaw is like the opposite of perfect, but as a human, that's what you're supposed to have. And sometimes they make you unique. And sometimes what one person will consider a flaw can also be a strong suit in something else. if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm phrasing it the best way, but sometimes your flaws can be a strength depending on, you know, where you're at. Like some people, sometimes I'm too nice, but sometimes being too nice takes me far. And so if I look at it like that, I'm never was supposed to be, I don't think there ever will be a perfect, everybody gonna think something of something that's really about loving and appreciating yourself and knowing that I am what I am. I am that I am, you know, that's it.
Yep. I think beauty is really imperfections. It's not really perfections. If you look at beauty, it's the imperfection of a thing, not the perfecting of a thing. And when he says you're perfectly made in me, he means you in all your flaws. So when we're trying to fix them the way the world say that I need to be fixed, my God said I'm fine.
Right.
You know, and he looks at me just as such. Any fixing that needs to be done in me, he'll do it. He'll do just that. Looks like Brandy's frozen right there. Oh, there she go. Brandy, did you want to add something to that?
I can hear you. I was going to say, can you repeat the question, because I believe I missed.
Okay, so the question is, if the world looks at us and say that we're so imperfect, and everything that the world presents to us basically tells us that we're imperfect, all the plastic surgery, all the, you know, all the changes that people are making, but God tells us that we're perfectly made in him. How can we see ourselves as perfect? Because the world tells us that we're perfect, but world tells us that we're imperfect, but God tells us that we're perfect. How can we see ourselves the way God sees us?
Well, how do I want to word this? I feel like when you're a firm believer in God and in Christ self, and you're Christ-like, the ways of the world, it don't even affect you. Feel like, you know, things come and go, but your relationship with God should be constant, and you should always just follow his path, and his path will envision what you will look at, how you will look at yourself, how you will live your life, how you will handle different situations, how your mindset will be. I just feel like you have to have that relationship with God, and if you don't have it, then the world will take you in each fly, make you perfect, make you go. Oh my gosh, she was so beautiful. And it's just like when you don't have, so God will always have you physically, whether it's mentally, emotionally. I just feel like with you having that strong connection with him, or just having a relationship with him, period, and asking him to guide you and guide your mindset. And I feel like that will also like help you kind of distinguish and stay away from the world telling you you're imperfect if you want to live in God's image.
Okay. Okay. Miss Tassie, what you want to add to that?
I agree with what everybody said. I agree.
Okay. Okay. Miss Brandy. So I know we talked about week 2. Now, week 2's challenge was once, and this is something that a challenge that the young ladies completed last month. This month, they had a challenge to basically pray once a week on a particular topic, and they went basically, they just went deep in on challenging understanding God in situations. And this particular week, week 2, it says, once you begin, basically don't let the shame, pain, and fear stop you from moving forward in God. And one of the biggest things that, and I think I expressed this, you wasn't there at the dinner, Brandy, you actually missed this one. And one of the biggest things that I expressed is nothing worse than the shame of something you cannot control. Right?
Right.
So Asha was actually there. And I expressed a shame of a pain that I went through when I was a really, really young child, of something that was out of my control that I had to watch someone else go through. But it was embarrassing to me because it was someone who I loved. Right? And I said, in watching them go through this pain, people start to put the shame, because you're connected to these people, they start to wear the shame on, put the shame on you because you're connected to these people. So a lot of times in life, and you will find yourself like this a lot in life, wearing the shame of other people, of things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. But because you're connected to these people, you wear their shame.
Almost like association.
I.e. a husband and a wife. And I'm gonna flip the script because people always say we beat up on men. I.e. turn it around. I.e. a wife goes out there and does something crazy and embarrasses her husband. That man ain't did nothing. But he's wearing that shame.
Right.
That's the shame of wearing someone else's shame. So, and one thing that the enemy will definitely do is he will wear you down with shame. The shame of your shame of the things that you've done, and the shame of other people's shame. And you have to be strong enough to fight it. And I expressed to Asha when we were at dinner, as a third grader. I was young when this thing happened, and I remember combating it with, well, at least he didn't die. So I was smart enough to come back with something stating, I'm not going to allow people to make me feel bad about someone else's bad decision, because I still love this person.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will make you feel bad about someone else's bad decision that it had nothing to do with you. You know, so even, and I'll give you one that's probably big right about now, is, which I didn't really see that much in my era, is parents with children who are trans or gay or whatever. A lot of times parents are wearing the shame of their children's decision. Those children are, especially when they're adults, those children make their own decisions. Your job as a parent is just to love them, not to wear the shame of their decisions. You know, our shame in my era is don't have no kids out of wedlock. I mean, in this day and time, that's like, psh, that's nothing. But we wore that kind of shame. So we couldn't come and say, Mama, I'm pregnant and I'm not married, because that was a shame that we would have had to wear. So it's different. You know, each era is different. And that, in my era, that would have been shame that my mother would have had to wear. That would have been shame that my father would have had to wear. And it would have been my decision, not theirs. So it's you have to say, I'm not going to wear other people's shame. Not at all. So go ahead and express what you felt in week 2, Miss Brandy.
Okay, so when you text us the challenge, basically this stuck out to me because I guess of a situation I was going through at the time. And it was just like, once you begin, don't let shame, pain, or fear stop you from moving forward and knowing God.
Mhm.
So I used to have like a really bad habit. If I was going through something, the first thing I would do was just like, I would pick up my phone and call a friend. I would pick up my phone and call a cousin. I would pick up my phone and I'm trying to tell them, the situation of what's going on, but I may leave out bits and pieces because I may not want you to know this part. And you can't even give me the proper advice. I feel like that's really needed because you don't even know anything, but because I'm trying to hide and, sneak and geek and, tell you what I want to tell you. I just feel like, I wasn't getting anywhere and I was just going in circles and I was just trying to do everything by myself when I know that I should have been talking to God and I should have been, letting him guide me and, just cover me. So when you sent that just really stuck out to me because I was just like, wow, I was actually trying to work on my relationship with God. And when I go through, a hard time, instead of picking up the phone and calling somebody else, and it's hard like to break that habit because I just had to do it recently. Something happened and I just was about to pick up the phone and text my homegirls one by one. I'm like, no, we said we weren't going to do that. And I just talked to God about it. And honestly, I just felt a lot better. Like when I talk to my friends are kind of crazy like me. So now I'm getting more riled up. I'm getting more, and it's just like, I'm not thinking like I'm supposed to be thinking or talking like I'm supposed to be talking. But when I talk to God, it's just like I feel like I gain so much clarity and I just feel like I'm calm and I just feel like if I have a chance to sleep on it, it's even better. But even if I don't, it's just like physically, I just feel better. I feel refreshed and I feel like, okay, it was a bad moment, but I done talked to him. Now let's just get back, right, get our head right and get back in the game and he'll lead us. And so that's why that stuck out to me, Auntie, because I was going through something at the time and I just felt like when you text that, I was like, how ironic is that?
Awesome. That's good. I'm glad you said that because I think we've all gone through that. We've all gone through stages of, okay, who I'm getting ready to call, because whoever I'm getting ready to call, I need them to be on my side. And I need to make sure when I call them, they are on my side. So we go through our Rolodex like, no, she ain't gonna be on my side. No, he ain't gonna be on my side. No, they ain't gonna be on my side. I need to know whoever I'm getting ready to call, they get ready to be on my side. But I had to learn that whoever I invite into the situation, for one, I can tell them the honest truth. Number one, because if I leave out bits and pieces, then I'm not getting what I need. Number one. Number two, well, actually, I take that back. Number one is, did God say I can call them? That's number one. Number one is, did God say I can call them? Number two is, then am I gonna give them enough information for them to give me an honest enough opinion? And if I'm not willing to give them enough of the information, then I don't need to tell them. Because I need people that when I'm going through something, I can bleed on. And when I say bleed on, mean I can give them the honest, raw truth. Because if I'm picking bits and pieces, then these ain't the people I can tell that to. Yeah. And you have to be honest with yourself about your friends. Not that they bad people. It's just that I can't tell them that. You know your friends that when you call them and tell them something, that they're ready to grab the grease, the sneakers, pile up the homegirls in the car, and y'all ready to go tear it down. You know who those are. You can't call them because y'all gonna be on 39th and ain't nobody got no bail money. You can't call them. You know you got to call somebody that's gonna be calm, talk you off the ledge, be like, okay, let's pray about this. Listen, you didn't change. God has changed you. This is not the way you really want to go. Da 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 da. That's who you need to call. Yeah. You want to go rah rah? Girl, this ain't the season to go to jail. I'm too cute. Too cute to be in jail. And that's how you can get.
No toilet seat.
Yeah, no. No Not at all. Asia and Tassie, y'all want to add to this?
I don't really have much to add when it comes to week 2, but I don't know. I kind of try to feed off of what I last heard, but I mostly talk to myself. And when I don't want to hear, like, when I say talk to myself, I mean like out loud. I mean, I self-assess
Yeah.
and I assess different things, and I do still feel shame regardless sometimes when I think about it. But when it said conviction in the place of condemnation, like place conviction there, and it just makes me think about how much I have to, instead of feeling shamed and feeling condemned for something, just stand on my beliefs and either let that, make me grow,
Mhm.
or just not feel the shame anymore so that I can really heal. And now I can think about whatever it is that's on my mind. And instead of feeling shame, I'll feel, well, we move past that, or now I'll look at it this way. Because sometimes once you get over the shame of something, you can really see the lesson in it. But
Yeah.
you can't really see the lesson in it if you're feeling sorry for yourself and feeling wrong, especially over things you can't control.
Yes. Yes.
I agree with that.
Oh, go ahead. Miss Tassie?
I agree with everything they're saying. I'm just listening. You just sent me this a few hours ago, so I ain't had time to really reflect and assess the situation. But
You got to add something to this. I know you have something to add to, because I know your brain. I see you every day, so I know you have something you want to add to this.
I don't. I really don't. But I'm listening. I'm
Okay.
listening.
Okay, I'm coming back to you in a minute.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So week 3. Okay, so week 3, basically, they had to acknowledge how much they need God, number 1. And they had to take their heart and their wounds and their soul to God. Now, when I really thought about this one right here, acknowledging that you need people is hard for me. Because sometimes to acknowledge that you need someone is a challenge, because especially when you are very independent. And to be truthfully honest, even very independent people are interdependent. They're not really independent, they're interdependent. They make and do stuff by themselves, but it still takes people for them to bump into to get things accomplished. I don't care if it's a kiss from your daughter. I don't care if it's a hello from your sister. I don't care if it's a have a good evening from your coworker. Those are interdependent things. And I think I express to Tassie all the time that I am a people's person. So I basically come from out of my cave sometime at work just to go sit in her office, because I don't have people I talk to in my office because I'm always at a computer. So I'm like, girl, listen, I got to walk down this hallway and talk to some people, do something, because I am a people's person. So I am independent, but I'm interdependent because I like people. So even when you are independent, I'm not dependent on the people down the hallway to pay my cable bill, but I'm interdependent because those people give me joy just by me saying good morning to them. So a lot of times we don't understand how much we need things that we don't feel like we need, or the things that we need that we don't see that we need. Like we need air, but we don't see it. but let it stop. Everybody know how we felt. We had to put those masks on. Every 5 minutes, like, okay, y'all. Okay.
Definitely took air for granted.
We needed it. I mean, that's the bottom line. We couldn't see it, but we knew we needed it. You know, and that's the bottom line. Like, we need God, even though we can't see him, we can feel him, and we understand that that's something that we need. So how apt you are to take your heart, your wound, and your soul to something that you can't see.
Can anybody talk right now?
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you don't already have like a relationship with God, I do feel like that can be very intense and it can be very scary, because it's just like I'm not taking a chance, but it's just like you kind of putting your faith into something, and it's like, the first time something go wrong, we be ready to, cry or worry or, have doubts. And I'm still like that. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's something that I struggle with, but I am trying to get better with it, as I grow more into my relationship with God. But yeah, especially I feel like I had to go through, and it may be my worst to the worst, may not be somebody else's worst to the worst, but I feel like when I was at the worst of the worst, I had no choice but to give everything to God. It was to the point where it's like he brought me to him without me even trying. Like I was just laying in bed one night and I just had to realize, like, I just talked to him. I'm like, God, I can't do this by myself. I'm spinning my wheels and I keep, getting knocked back steps and steps because I just keep trying to do it by myself. And I just had to ask him, God, please help me, even if that means breaking me all the way down to my whatever it needs to be done for me to clear my head and do what is needed to get right and stop feeling like this. Just do that for me. And I just feel like I ask God for so much and I just give him so little. He dedicates time, throughout the day. I feel like he just does so much for me that I'm not even deserving of. And I want to be able to praise God in my happy times, just like I do when I'm, broke down and on my knees. Mm-hmm. So that's, I really do want to work on that, Auntie. And just giving it all to God. He honestly answered my prayers. I just learned that I have to ask him for what I want. And I have to also sit back and realize, like, okay, it may not go the way that I want, or I may not get it the way that I'm asking for, but just still realize and still be grateful for the blessings that he gives to me. But yeah, definitely giving everything to him. It's just, he show out every time.
Yep.
Every time I have doubts or I worry, I don't even know why I worry, Auntie, because he gets me through every situation, literally. Mm-hmm. So,
yep. Miss Asha, I saw the look you had on your face when I said it. You was like,
Because honestly, sometimes I don't like being honest. I'm not gonna lie.
Did we have that conversation earlier today?
Yes, sometimes I don't like being honest. But we did have it, actually. But honestly, when it comes to bringing things to someone you can't really like see or hear, but you feel, I don't know. I can't really say if I didn't have the grandmother and the upbringing I had, if I would even try so hard to, I won't say if I would try so hard to keep a relationship with God. I won't say that. But it's kind of like what Brandy said earlier. If you don't already have a relationship with God, it'll probably be a little hard. But I have a foundation there that I get to refer to. Mm-hmm. And I have examples of how he worked in other people's life that keeps me holding on in times where my faith still gets challenged to this day. I don't like to tell the truth, but my faith still gets challenged to this day. I'm a big reader. I read about a bunch of things, but a lot of times I have to relate it back to, I know how God has moved in my life. And despite what it might be, what I may be learning now, it does not negate the fact that there is a God that loves me and there's a God that works. And it comes from, for me, from the foundation. So that's how I'm able to always bring something back to God.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that, because I relate to that so much. I feel exactly that same way, but I've never been able to put it into words. Like, she worded that beautifully.
But I'm not gonna lie, I don't like sometimes people like Miss Erica is like a big blessing, because growing up, especially in a Kojic church, I don't know if it's Kojic specifically, could be any church, but there was just no really being honest. You either believed head on every single thing you was told. You ain't say nothing about no faith being challenged, because it felt like a little bit of judgment, just a little bit of judgment. It felt like, so you kind of just be on the hush mouth, like, am I wrong? I'm gonna be damned to hell just for a question, like what is it or whatever. But having people who aren't judgmental, you know, and can show you by example instead of words, you know, how good God is, that's what it makes a difference.
Yes, absolutely. I think both of you all had very, very influential grandmothers in your lives. And I hear you both say that you all had the foundation. But my leadership, she did not. She didn't find God until she was 20 something years old. So she had no foundation. But she had a will and a strong will to know more about God. And it's one of those things that it's either you want it or you don't. It's just one of those things that you either want more of it or you don't. And I remember my first time in new converts class, when you're newly converted to Christ, and now you have to go through this class. And I'm sitting in this class, I'm about in my mid-20s. And while I'm sitting in this class, the teacher asked the question, and she says, she said, I just want to know, what do you all, since you all are now newly converted, what do you want to do now for God? And I'm listening at everybody talk, and everybody's like, I want to be sold out for God, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I'm looking around the room like, oh, I don't want to do none of that. So I'm looking around, so I'm the last person she gets to. So I'm looking like, oh God, what am I gonna say? And I can't lie because I'm in church. So I can't lie. So I said, can I be honest? And she says, yeah. And I said, I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to stop hurting. And she was like, wow, that's one of the most honest things I've heard. And that's it. I was like, I ain't trying to be sold out for God. I ain't trying to be this. I ain't trying to be the tip top super sister save. I ain't trying to be none of that. I just don't want to hurt no more. And that's it. And she just kind of looked at me like, no, that's right. And it was just one of those things that people don't hear that often, because sometimes in ministries, it is a bunch of competition. It is a bunch of people trying to be the best super Christian. It is the person who's trying to see who can dress the holiest. It is the person who can have a big hat. I ain't gonna say it on live, but I'm calling something else the big hat committee. You know, it's just it's all of this, but it's nothing here. It's nothing internal. It's all of this external stuff. And they super and brother, sister, and brother super saved on the outside, but the inside is towed up. Because they're judgmental, they're pious, they're, they're double-minded, they're all of the things that God speaks against. Period. And I'm going to challenge you all. We got about 15 minutes. I'm going to challenge you all. And the young lady Tassie, she actually had to go, so she logged off. So thank you for coming on, Tassie. But I'm going to challenge you all. There is a movie that I want you all to watch, and anyone who's out there live who's watching it. And it's a cartoon. I'm going to warn you that it's a cartoon. But it is one of the most powerful cartoons that I've watched. And I don't watch cartoons. I'm too grown for cartoons. I don't watch it. But it's called The Pilgrim's Progress. And it is on Tubi.
Pilgrim's Progress.
The Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah, that's in my notes.
Okay. And it's on Tubi. It's free on Tubi. And if you watch that movie, I promise you to change your life. If I can make my brother watch it, who was the street dude at one point in his life that has changed his life 360 degrees 2 times. If I can make him sit down and watch that movie, y'all can watch that movie.
And in which way will this movie change my life? I'm only asking because from a revolutionary standpoint, me and the Pilgrims.
Well, there is a book that was written in the 1800s called The Pilgrim's Progress. And it's about a guy taking his pilgrimage to heaven.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about a specific person on the pilgrimage, not pilgrims. Okay.
Yes.
I can dig it.
All right. So let's talk about our last week's challenge. Now, on our last week's challenge, we were talking about the healing process and how uncomfortable it is, right? Now, for me, discomfort comes in many different facets. However, you know how most people are discomfort when people go to yelling at them? I ain't discomfort when somebody yell at me. I'd be like, bring it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make me uncomfortable because I'm a firecracker by nature, right? So what brings me discomfort is if you can give me something to think about, if it's something that I'm already battling. Now, number one, you'll probably never know what it is, even if you make me think about it, unless I express it to you. Number two, you have to tell it to me soft. If you're yelling at me, I won't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So in this process, I say that to people because people receive information differently. And everybody doesn't receive it the same way. And when you're starting to heal, sometimes you may get uncomfortable. And it seems like it's getting worse, but it's actually getting better. Because you're starting to dig up the dirt. And I think in the passage it says, sometimes we walk around with band-aids and open wounds and gangrene sets in. So we got band-aids, we got open wounds, and things start to set in. And it says, take off the temporary covering and allow that cut to breathe in order to save the wound, which seems internal. So sometimes we have to just kind of open things up in order for them to heal. And what we have been programmed most of the time is to keep things closed so they can heal. Now, one thing I have learned is spill the beans, but don't keep letting the pot boil over and over and over and over and over and over. And I remember I was on it's crazy. I was on a conference, a ministry, but it was a Zoom ministry. And we were talking and someone was speaking about old wounds. And I think someone kind of got offended because I said, I don't have any. And it was almost taken as in a sense of arrogance. And I said, I don't have any because God has healed me. So I don't let people dig up old stuff from my past when I'm healed. And sometimes you will allow people to dig up stuff from your old past that you're like, I'm past that. But I've let somebody come in my life and dig this up. I'm over that. Don't dig up. Listen, I've been over being 50 years ago. Don't come over here talking about being. Ain't nobody think about being. I've been over being. But somebody told me, girl, when the last time you heard from Ben? Girl, ain't nobody thinking about Ben.
Right.
Listen, I've been over Ben. Girl, do you remember when he used to do? No, I don't. Me and Ben been over. No, I don't remember none of that. No. But you have to be that strong to be able to say, I'm over that, and don't drag me back through that anymore because I've healed past that. So how do you get to a point that you're able to transition? I don't care if it's something that you just feel like you've healed from yesterday. If it was something that you dealt with yesterday, you got into an argument with your sister yesterday, and you said, you know what? I'm over that. I love my sister. I'm past that. And somebody calls you and say, you know what, girl? You and your sister all right. But remember what you said? She said, I'm over that. That was yesterday. I love my sister. I'm over that. How do you get past things like that?
I guess I'll start.
Sure.
How I get past things like that, honestly, I take it as it goes. If it makes me cry, I cry. If it makes me mad, I be mad. And then eventually, not just telling myself, but also you can't be like this forever. But also, I mean, actually, no, yeah, it is that, because it's just, I can't stay in the same mind space. I can't not change. I can't be hurt by the same thing this year and tomorrow and next year and then the following year. Can't be hurt by the same thing, especially if either it's not about to change, or whether it change or it don't change. I don't know. I don't know if it's going. I just don't know. And I can't just be sitting here worrying about something that I don't know. I can't change. I'm going to have to be comfortable with it.
Yes.
And it really just comes from me looking within, but I have to get past all the emotions first. I have to cry about it. I have to go over it. You know, there's like certain like unknown things like that I don't really know about myself. I probably won't get to know them, about myself. And it's just like, I'm not alone. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but you will. You'll get to it. It just takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. But I find myself in a position where I know it's not unique. Like other people go through the same things, similar things, worse things, or maybe I don't even compare whether something is worse or not, because it really is subjective.
Yes.
But I just think about how it's not unique, and at the end of the day, it's me. Came here by myself, gonna leave here by myself. Gotta be comfortable with myself. Gotta be comfortable in my solitude. And there's just some things I can't be in my head about if it's going to cost me discomfort.
Yes. Or cost too much. Sometimes we allow people to take up too much space in our minds, and it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot allow people to take up that much space in our minds. It's not worth it. Miss Brandy, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of input on that because I'm still working on that. That's still actually very challenging for me. So I'm just kind of listening and trying to receive what y'all are saying, to get just different point of views. But I don't have much to say. I just feel like it just stems from yourself. I feel like it definitely also has to do with the people that you surround yourself with. I feel like the people that you surround yourself with, they should know you as a person. Like if you're a person that likes to keep up mess and they can call you and keep it going, then that'll be okay for you. But if you're not that kind of person, like you said, Auntie, I know I said that yesterday. I know I cussed them out yesterday, but I ain't feeling like that today.
Yep.
You got to have those kind of people that can kind of go with your flow.
Yep.
Like, cause some people will be more mad about your situation than you, and now you back good with your sister or your mama, your dad,
Yep.
your dad,
Mm-hmm.
and they still holding that grudge. So I just feel like it also goes hand in hand with another thing you just said too, Auntie. I feel like the older that I got, I have a lot of friends, but I also realized that with age and with wisdom, every friend ain't for everything. I got some friends that I'm gonna call and talk about work with. I got some friends I'm gonna call and talk about my super personal stuff with, and I got some friends that I'm just gonna say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm checking in. I'm gonna talk to you later." Yep. Everybody is not for everything, so I feel like your close-knit circle, y'all should kind of be on the same page and be able to feed off of each other and actually pour into each other.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And what you'll learn is the older you get, that circle of friends that's so widespread with different subjects, it will start to condense itself and people will start to follow.
Yes.
Because those friends that you cussed with yesterday and the day you don't want to cuss, and then you say a cuss word the next day, those friends are understanding that you're trying to make change in your life. And be like, friend, I get it, you're trying to make change, and not judge you for it. Then those other friends that's saying, oh, well, you did it yesterday. Why you can't do it today? What's the problem? I don't understand. Them friends will start falling off.
Stay away from them friends.
No, they'll start falling off because you'll realize that you got to prove hood Brandy to them while this other friend understands that you're going through a transition.
Mm-hmm.
They still want you to stay the same. This other friend over here understands that you are trying to grow, but it's something still trying to pull you back. So this other friend will be looking at you, be like, you know what, sis, I see you. I'm gonna help you grow. I see you may fall back sometimes, but it's okay. I love you anyway. See, it takes that in order for you to grow. It takes all these moving parts in order for you to grow. You got to see them friends pulling you back. You got to see them friends wanting to see you grow. And it may not even be friends, honey. It may be family.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So you have to see them people saying, you know what? I really want to see you succeed. I see you falling. I see you making mistakes, but I still want to see you succeed. Versus you'll see them other ones be like, girl, she thinks she all this. She don't drink no more. I got Casa Mika when she trying to go over here talking about she going this place. I'm trying to listen, we got the best, you know what, here. We got Gainesville Green around here. She around here talking about she don't do that no more. And she talking about da. You gonna see that they will fall off eventually. And don't get me wrong, you'll find yourself still going back to things because things are familiar to you. And those things that are familiar to you bring you comfort. But eventually they will fall off, especially when you're seeking God. I had a young guy tell me once, he said, you stopped me from smoking weed. And I was like, I stopped you from smoking weed? I ain't never said nothing in my life about you smoking weed. Mm-hmm. He said, you didn't. That's how you stop me. And I said, huh? He said, you just love me. I said, wow. Okay. I said, you smoking is not my problem. That's between you and God. What my problem is what God tell me to give you. That's it. That's it. Because when I was doing whatever I was doing out there in the streets, you couldn't stop me from doing it. What you was gonna do? Stand in front of the liquor store to stop me from going to get that booze for him? You wouldn't. You was not gonna stop me from doing nothing at all. The only person who was gonna stop me from going to get that was God. That was it. So I had to learn that people have to everybody has their own path. And it's just a matter of how they are going to take their path. Our job as Christians, God says, loving kindness shall I draw thee. You ain't going to draw nobody but with love. You don't go beat these people up all you want to. We got our own sins. Everybody got something.
That's true.
Everybody got something. Yeah. So I'm going to end on that note. I want to thank everybody from showing up. I thank you, Facebook family. I do want to let you all know that we're going to be transitioning the Voice It podcast. We're going to be transitioning to a new podcast at the beginning of the year, not right now. The name of the new podcast is called Soulful Revelations by Erica. So that's going to be transitioning. You can go to the YouTube page right now. It's open and it's live. You'll see some of the Voice It podcasts already on there. It's called Soulful Revelations by Erica, and you'll see them there. But thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be saying it pretty much on the podcast for the rest of the year. You know, shameful plug. That's what we do. So thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you in 4 weeks.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So we are off live.